Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy far from sun.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Hello there, Space Wizards, Plastic Spacemen, and Rebel Princesses. This is Todd Hoffman, and unfortunately, Little T, Trent Hoffman, is not with me today, so this is Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. So I guess it's technically Big T today, but welcome to episode 33. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 16 and 17 of Star Wars Resistance. Like I said, Trent unfortunately is not with me. We're trying to figure out some schedules, so we do apologize for our delay in the releasing of our pods, but Trent's really into video games, and so we just recently launched our Twitch site, and so we're working on that. So that's twitch.tv, big T, little Lilt, Twitch. And so he really wants to do that, so we're looking into doing that as well as doing this as well. So just trying to manage schedules and trying to figure out logistics of that. So yeah, he'll be back, but right now it's just me. So this week's been kind of crazy. Adulting stuff. We've been painting. It's like our COVID project, so we've been painting the whole downstairs, and so finally got most of the downstairs done this last weekend. So that was like a huge, like literally an achievement unlocked. Like finished up painting a bunch of cabinets, and so it was a mild victory. And so now that frees up our time to do more fun stuff. But yeah, it's been our COVID project, and really happy with the results. Cool thing since we last recorded, Christopher Sean, who is the actor who plays Kaz on Star Wars Resistance, liked a couple of our posts. We put that on the socials, and then just recently he followed us on Twitter, and so both Trent and I are fanboying at this moment. But yeah, that was a really cool thing. Super awesome to do that. He one of our last posts for the episodes he commented on, and so it was just kind of a cool little thing. And so you never know, maybe we'll have him on as a guest in a future episode. But yeah, it was really cool, just like a little thing like that. News, really the biggest thing is like, when is this Mando season 2 trailer coming out? We'll definitely do a full breakdown when that happens. Can't wait. This is how we started the podcast, and I can't wait for season 2, and looking forward to watching that with the fam and getting into all the nitty gritty. I mean, we've been joking on the sister show WSTR Media that it's really Yoda and friends, because by the time of all the rumors coming out and everything, it is all about Baby Yoda and his friends. So it could be Ahsoka, it could be, Mando's lost cousin twice removed, whatever. There could be always something. But yeah, Ahsoka, we have Sabine, we have I'm trying to think who else might show up. Boba Fett. You never know who's actually going to be on the show, and obviously super excited to see where they take the Darksaber kind of thing. What are we going to do with that? So it should be interesting to see Moff Gideon and figure out what is happening with that. Is he a Jedi? Did he pick that up from an old, did he just go to Jedi Temple and raid that? So it really, I'm really excited for season 2. Hopefully they just show us a bunch of pictures and we'll just drool for a little bit. And yeah, I mean, Baby Yoda to me is probably one of the coolest Star Wars moments ever. And so I think if they can still surprise us with some teasers and get the buzz going for October release, that's going to be awesome. Yeah, so really looking forward to that. Trent and I have been on a Transformer kick, so we're going through Transformers, playing a lot of games. The one that we streamed for the first time was Moving Out, and so that's a simple game of basically moving boxes from a house to a truck, and hilarity ensues. The difficult part is playing with other people and trying to work together, because there's some items that are 2-player and some items that are 1. It's really a fun game of logistics, but there is a lot of frustration too with the little kids. So it's a lot of fun. So we'll be probably streaming that. The other big game that we're really excited about coming out, too, is Tony Hawk is coming out. So a remastered Tony Hawk 1 and 2 is coming out, and then Rebel Squadron or Squadron, Star Wars Squadrons is the next game that we're really excited to talk, to basically play, and hopefully we'll start streaming that as well. Real quick, my other son, Jordan Esparza, is doing music in Chicago, and so I'm very proud of him. And we were talking and just like, hey, really, my passion, my favorite game of all time is Metroid, and it was terribly hard, but terribly satisfying to beat it, and the music and everything like that. I just love 8-bit music. I think it's so much fun. And so later in the show, you're going to hear something from Jordan. He took some samples and put it together for me, and I couldn't be more excited. You can check out he has a studio in Chicago. So if you're interested in podcasting and want a studio space, or if you are looking to record some music, if you're a musician and want to record some music, you can check him out on Instagram, and it's called Ground Floor Chicago. And that's Ground Floor Studios in Chicago. And yeah, you can check him out, follow him, and and then I will play. It's a tease. I'm going to play the song at the end of the episode, so you have to wait till the end to check that out. But yeah, super excited, super awesome that it turned out. So can't be more thankful for him to put that together. And obviously I'm a little proud because it's like super cool. And I'm like, hey, can you do this? And he put it all together. So yeah, Jordan Esparza. You could also follow him on Instagram at LOSESPARZA3. That's Los Esparza 3. So he's doing audio engineering. Really proud of him. And yeah, so check it out. All right, let's go on to our main topic. All right, so we are blasting through Star Wars Resistance Season 1. The first episode that we are going to review tonight, or today, or whenever you listen to this podcast, is early in the morning for me, so I'm sorry for that, but here we go. The new trooper, okay? So the official description is, after Kel and Ella, fugitives from the First Order, have run in with a stormtrooper, Kaz seizes the opportunity to uncover more details about the growing movement. So this is a pretty cool episode. This is a classic. We've seen this before in Star Wars, taking somebody else's armor, putting it on, trying to figure out how to look and walk, and Kaz does that, and I think it's super fun to watch him try to adjust to the First Order stormtrooper outfit. Myself being a TK, I get the pain. Sometimes it's a little crazy putting all those bits on. Obviously, with a cartoon, you don't have that kind of stuff, but they still play off on, he's not being awkward and not really following in formation and trying to speak trooper talk. I think that's fun too, because same thing when you're cosplaying or doing stuff, you want to try to sound like a stormtrooper, and as easy as that sounds, sometimes it's very hard. And so I just loved how Kaz was trying to do that. So really the episode opens up with Doza watching, like he's just seeing the command shuttle come down again, and he's saying, hey man, we're okay, we got everything resolved. But you got stormtroopers patrolling deck. They hear voices. They go investigate, and it's the kids. These are the two kids that basically the First Order, Kel and Elia, I think I'm saying that right. They're catching some kind of fish flying creature, which is fantastic. I don't know what that species is. I think it's called a snarlfish. I love Star Wars names. So it's a snarlfish. Basically, they have a fishing rod, and they are trying to catch these things. And they do. They catch a couple. And then the troopers come around, and they basically have a little run-in, and the trooper basically knocks himself off by hitting the railing. Yes, the Colossus has railing. That's amazing. They have learned something from most other engineers in the Empire, and the First Order don't know about railings, aka Han Solo, aka Luke Luke, there's a little hand railings in Empire, I think, but the Death Star guys are Death Star troopers in it's Star Wars: A New Hope with the Death Star. That's no railings there. Super fun Family Guy episode about that. It's just hilarious. But yeah, no railings, and then clearly no railings in The Force Awakens. Who needs them? Safety, whatever. All right, so this is kind of an interesting thing about Tam, Yeager, Niku, and Kaz are talking about the First Order, and people are feeling threatened. Kaz kind of mentions that, but then Tam responds and basically says, her grandfather worked at an Imperial factory and put food on the table. So meaning the Empire was a job for her, or her grandfather had a job and it was secure with the Empire. But Yeager has a different experience, and obviously Kaz is seeing it from a different perspective too. And so I think this is one of the most fascinating things about Star Wars. And we see that a little bit if you play Battlefront 2, the single player story. You get a little bit of that. Like, this is their duty, this is their job, this is what they see. And obviously in Battlefront 2, you get to see that there is stability, and it kind of, it's one of those weird things where some people don't see it as an evil thing. It provides stability, and so when you get to the Iden Versio, who lives and breathes the Empire, you really get this sense of it's stability. It's part of her family. Her dad is a high-ranking official, but the switch is like when our little robot emperor shows up and gives the orders, and you're like, that's the switch. So she sees it from a different perspective, where from one, same thing with Tam. She's seen it. Her grandfather worked at a factory, put food on the table, and it was stable for them. But there's this whole destructive part about the Empire, and I think that's the weird and cool, fascinating thing about the Empire, is that there is order, and if you are not exposed to the atrocities and everything like that, you get to really see it as like a normal thing. And I think this goes back to even like with Jedi and with the Sith, is that the normal Star Wars Galaxy citizen is not exposed to any of that. And so these real intimate things that from a fan's perspective are really into, I would say the normal citizen doesn't see a lot of that. Now, as we see in many respects, like we see this in obviously the Rise of Skywalker and with the First Order, and we see a little bit of that in the original trilogy. From a citizen's perspective, our biggest thing is really just Tatooine. There's a presence there. It's a backwater planet, but there is somewhat more of a police state than where we're going with like abducting children and doing all these things. There's things that really, that if you're not exposed to that, and if you keep your what does Jin say? I have to look this up, because I think it's like, in a sense, if you keep your head down, you can't, you don't need to see the flag or whatever. What is that? I mean, obviously she says rebellions are built on hope. Well, we know that, but there was that. What is that one, man? Okay, well, anyways, I am super paraphrasing, and I should know this, but the idea is that she basically tells Saw in that it's not a problem if you don't look up, meaning that, I think that's what she says. it's not a problem if you don't look up. And what she's meaning there is that if you don't see the Empire flag, the Imperial cog, you're good. You're fine. And you keep your head down and you don't cause trouble, then you're good to go, you know? So I thought that's very interesting. And then, so we circle back with Tam, and they have this little disagreement. Then Kel and Aaliyah visit and say, yo, we got an issue. They go down, they see that they have the down trooper. The bucket beeps, and Kaz and his, as Trent and I call him, he's such a goober, but we love him. He just picks it up and starts talking. And so they have this idea that Kaz will put on the armor, figure out what's going on, and then they're going to spy, in a sense. So they basically storm away and with our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in where Kel and Ella are living. So they keep him on the bed, and so really what he does is that, he hears a voice on the comlink, CS515, great name. So they, like TK421, bad transmitter. Let's take a look at the transmitter. So he falls in line. They go on top of the deck of Colossus. There's people throwing food, and some of the stormtroopers actually stun people on. And you can see there's unrest. That's the other thing that you're seeing real quick with the First Order, and similar to Empire. Unrest with the citizens, like, hey, this is my freedoms. You don't need to see my scan docs. I got my gloves on. You get the deal. But they're just seeing the unrest, and so the troopers get in that. Cass kind of peels away. He tries to get to the command shuttle, which he does. We run into, fun thing as he goes there, he runs into Opit, scrubbing floors, and he almost slips, and he's like, hey, good job, citizen. And again, this is the guy, the alien janitor that shows up. And if you're familiar with the other episodes, they steal his floor scrubber, and basically Kaz is like, apologized before slipping, and said, hey, this would have gotten better if you have a floor cleaner. Yeah. So he is a Frigosian. I think he's cool. He looks like a Muppet. I love him. That would be honestly a very cool cosplay, now that I think about it. So anyone out there that wants to be a Frigosian, I am all for that. So meanwhile, Tam and Kellen, Aaliyah basically tell her about what happened to the planet, of their homeworld TR, and so Tam is seeing it from a different perspective. And so the stormtrooper wakes up, they shock him with the electric shock prod, no big deal. So they get closer to Dozer's tower. Kaz gets on the command ship. There is a BB series astromech droid, MB-13A, just in case you're taking notes. This is like the BB-9E in Last Jedi, just a different type of BB-8 unit, which I think is cool that we have both Resistance and a First Order BB-8 unit or BB unit. And so he doesn't mess around. He's a lot different than BB-8, obviously. And so they go through that, and gets the data rod, and the data rod, we see this very similar. This is in the Force Awakens. This is what Poe retrieves, and it has a similar design, which I like, that they keep the design pretty much the same. So they have a little fight, toss in, and so this is another cool little, see, these are little nuggets that they're dropping in. So they're in Doza's office, and Commander Pry asks Doza why he left the Empire, and Doza said it was a personal choice. And so to me, I think that means because it has to do something with his daughter. So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. Should be very, I hope we get a little bit. I don't think we're going to get this in season 1, but definitely season 2. And this is really the second time they hinted it. The last time when Kaz was in his office looking for stuff, he hid in the closet, and we noticed that it's an Imperial uniform. So it's interesting that he still keeps it. So it means he has respect for it, but also there's a little sadness with what he was saying to Commander Pry. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. And so hopefully we'll get some of that in season 2. So he basically, Kaz is now, here's another thing they talk about. Like, they understand that CS 515 is not acting right. And so this is what Commander Pry opens up after they have this kind of like interrogation in Dozo's office, that a full mental wipe and reprogramming. I want to know a little bit more about this and how the First Order is mind wiping our the troopers. I think that's interesting. I mean, we get a little bit that with Finn's story in the sequel trilogy, but this mind wiping and reprogramming, I mean, it sounds very much similar to how they did the Flash stuff for the clone troopers, meaning like they took all those classes and they learned really fast, but they also grew fast. And so technically they're very young, but they have the education and supposedly are more adult, but the maturity is not there, obviously, with the clones when they come right off the assembly line. But I'm interested to see what this full mental wipe and reprogramming. We see a little bit of that also in the books. So if you're interested, like I would say, Captain Phasma's book is Phasma is pretty interesting, and they talk a little bit about that. But and then, gosh, what's that sequel with Cardinal? They talk a lot about that as well, with just reconditioning and stuff like that. So Kaz narrowly escapes. They switch the body. They switch the bodies, get the guy back in. When they pick him up in the corner, he is definitely concussed, and he loves his little green friend, which I love. That it's a little shout out to Niku. So anyways, they got information. Yeah, they got a lot of information from, well, we don't know what's on there, but they know that at least the data rod carries a star map of the galaxy, and Jaeger and him speculate that the red dots could be First Order fleets. What they're saying, Kaz is saying, that's impossible. Even the New Republic doesn't have that many ships. I think we're finally realizing, and they're hinting, that the First Order is bigger than anyone ever thinks, and that, I think, is they're doing a really good job of kind of setting that up. So, yeah. Here's a fun thing. I'm looking on fandom.com. Here we go. It says continuity. What? I can't even say that right. Continuing. The planets mentioned on the First Order holomap shown at the end of the episode are all wrong, all in the wrong locations. Interesting. You know, that star map, I think that honestly, I mean, if I was an author of Star Wars, I would name a planet, but I find that very interesting too. Like, every novel, there's always a new planet, and I'm like, where did that planet just show up in the star map? They keep on showing up, and I guess if I was an author, I would want to name a new planet. But yeah, they keep on popping up, and so to me, a continuing area with maps is not a huge deal. But I love that attention to detail, because there are some cool. There's a cool book, like a maps book, and you know, there are some. One thing that I loved about after the Rise of Skywalker, the people mapped out like where Kylo and Rey went on their journey, and it's insane. They basically went through the whole where Pisana is and where, you know, Exegol is, and in between all those stops, the journey that they took from, if you look at from like a map perspective in the galaxy and where they positioned them, it's it's ridiculous. So I don't know if that, again, it's hard to tell with the movies, but they do pretty much have a very short time frame. So it's not like many months passed. This is kind of real time, so they were all over the place. It definitely worked up the hyperspace miles on that one. Okay, so next one, core problem. It's punny because it's true. This one has the title basically sells what is happening. So here we go. We got Poe and Kaz investigates a location in the unknown regions that might be central to the first Aura plot. So again, the unknown regions, if you're not familiar, there's two spots in the map: unknown regions and wild space. So unknown regions is where Thrawn's at. It's highly nebulous and hard to navigate, and that's why a lot of people, at least from the galactic core, don't go to unknown regions. There is civilization, they know of it, but it's not as mapped as good. Same thing with wild space. Wild space we don't really talk too much about. The unknown region seems to be the sexier version of the two. So the unknown regions is where a lot of action happens. And so basically what we got here is that First Order lockdown the Colossus, security's picked up. And Kaz is trying to build his satellite to reach the first the resistance, and yeah, it's not really cool, but it doesn't really work. And then he gets on the comm, and then he hears Poe, but Poe's right behind him. Good job, Poe. So somehow he managed to escape past the First Order patrols, and Poe's on there, and he's just blazing his Star Wars Resistance outfit. You would think he would be a little bit more incognito, but who am I? It's just, we know he's a Resistance fighter. So they, Kaz, Yeager, and Poe, they talk about the star map that they heard from the memory rod, and First Order wants to what it looks like that the Colossus is a perfect. This is the other thing that they mentioned in the last episode, is a perfect spot for a refueling station in the First Order travel. So I think that's why they want it. But then they mentioned on this map that the last step for before the unknown regions could be a crucial part in a fuel up, and so they kind of talk through that. So why don't they investigate a little bit of the thing, so he gives Poe, and he gets Poe and Kaz. They sneak out of the Colossus, they get on the Fireball, and so the Resistance ship, Poe's Resistance ship, is up in space, and so this is, of course, totally feasible, totally fine. Poe's on the side of the Fireball, and they kind of get through some security measures. Of course, the Fireball does not do what it's supposed to do, and yeah, they almost lose it. But then they Poe clings for life on the Fireball. They make it. They drop all the way down to the water. Finally, the Fireball picks up, and then they go and they get onto Poe's T-70 X-Wing Starfighter, and then, of course, this is piloted by another BB unit that we met with the Quacking Monkey Lizard episode, CB-23. So CB-23 and Poe are flying together, and then you got BB-8 and Kaz flying together. So kind of cool. This is another little space. They fly past two wrecked planetoids, in a sense, that they're just like looking and understanding, hey, these things are messed up, and then they get they find a planet that's cored out. And so if you're not familiar, Starkiller Base is Elam. You find that out in Jedi Fallen Order. Great little nugget there. So Elam, I think, was first introduced to the Gendy cartoon, where this is like a snow planet, and they have crystals there, and Yoda defends it. We see this also in the Clone Wars, where the younglings in Ahsoka take them to get their crystals there. Obviously in Jedi Fallen Order, That is where you also get your crystal for your lightsaber. I mean, spoiler alert, but that's where you go. And then you see the beginning of the big trench and core of what the Empire's doing to Elam. So very cool little subtle thing. And so here we see a fully bored out planetoid, and they mention also no sun. So this is another thing, again, harnessing the power of the sun. I don't know the exact science about this, but that's what charges the blast, Starkiller base, and you get the idea. So they fly to a moon that still has some atmosphere, and there's like a little city, something like that. They explore. We get the classic, I feel like I'm being watched from Poe, little Luke Skywalker Dagobah action, but there is, the audience get a little clue that there is a probe droid, not just any old probe droid, but this is a First Order Spider probe droid. Basically, it's got cool armor plating and rockets and whatever, it's a big deal. So once again, Kaz is a goober. He slips and falls, and and when Poe hands him the blaster, please don't shoot off your toe. I love the acknowledgement that Kaz is kind of klutzy, but I like that Poe still believes in Kaz, and there's still a respect, even though, like, again, Trent and I think he's a goober. I really enjoy that, and it's super cool. So they have a little skirmish with the probe droid. Of course, Kaz pulls off a Jar Jar move, trips on a rock, shoots up, and hits him right dead center in the eye. And luckily, BB-8 was trying to do his little cable extensions. He's like on a pillar, and he's got the probe droid because they don't want him to get away. And so Kaz is trying to shoot him, but almost shoots BB-8 several times. I think he does actually hit him once, but it bounces off. So here's the thing with Star Wars blasters, and it's probably my biggest gripe of the whole thing, and why I feel like stormtroopers get a bad rap. When it's convenient, it's only laser, it's only a grazing, but for stormtrooper, for First Order Empire, it's one shot, you're dead. So whatever, it's okay, I'm not bitter. It's just interesting because he gets grazed, he's fine, but stormtrooper gets hit with armor and dies instantly. I don't understand these things, but this is just Star Wars. Okay, so unfortunately, you think that the First Order probe droid didn't do anything, but we know this from Empire. We know that from here that the probe droid got out the single. First Order is obviously in the vicinity, and we have Major Elric Von Reg. He's the red guy. So Commander Pry is kind of the gold stormtrooper, but then we got Von Reg. He's red. He's cool. He's got a cool ship. So they have a firefight. They do this cool thing when they go through the gravity well. The first time when they're exploring, they figure out how to fly in it, and so they don't kill themselves. And the idea is they have this dogfight, and Poe and Kaz lead the First Order back into the gravity well of this planetoid that has the whole core shot out. Core problem. Get it? Okay, got it. All right. So, and what they do is they get the First Order in there, and there's a lot of rocks. It's kind of like a mini asteroid field plus a gravity well. It's very hard to fly, but all the First Orders that are with Von Reg are dead. Boom, 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 boom. But Von Reg, of course, escapes. He pulls out and goes the other way before they get too deep in the core. Kaz and Poe shoot out of the core. They're like, woohoo! We've seen this before a couple times. So there you go. And they do this kind of cool, mid-air transition where CB-23 and BB-8 are now switching cockpits mid-air, and they do kind of like this cool little exchange. And obviously Kaz is sad to see BB-8 go, but Poe is going to Jakku. So I'm interested to see if they're going to show that, what he's doing in Jakku. So Are we saying that, is he looking for Laura Santeca, or I don't know. I'm interested to see how this works. Like, again, in timeline, we're not quite yet with Finn and Rey. I don't think we are. But yeah, I'm interested to see why he wants to go to Jakku. So, yeah, it's just, so here's the weird thing. So they get back, and now Kaz has a new BB unit, and they're like, "Hey, where's BB-8? Ah, this is CB-23." And so Dozer, no, I'm not Dozer. Jaeger, and Kaz kind of play it off, don't worry, he just went on a mission. He'll be back, and it's just they play it off as a loan, but Tam's like, isn't this a little fishy? You just like dump your astromech or whatever. So there you go. I think it's still kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, once again here, I just need to read further, I guess. I don't know. So Poe says, I had to make a quick detour to pick up BB, but I made it to Jakku all right. Is Poe Dameron recounting his mission in Jakku from Poe Dameron 26? Oh, comic. Okay. In the core problem, before Poe Dameron travels to Jakku, he makes a detour to Castilian to pick up BB-8. The detour was first mentioned in 2018 comic Poe Dameron 26. Oh, okay. So we have a little issue. It's fine. It's Star Wars. They have to make these things on the fly. So he's saying he picked up Castilian. Oh, well, I don't know if the class is there. Whatever. It's all good. It aligns up. He had to pick up BB-8 somewhere, and he did in the classes this time. So there you have it. That's the core problem. Very cool. I think both of these episodes are great. I love that they're expanding lore a little bit, and it's looking really good. What I'm looking forward to, again, I want to see a little bit of Jakku. If they're going to show that, I would also like to see if we're going to see Elam. I think that would be kind of interesting. But yeah, it's cool. So once again, Space Wizards, Plastic Spaceman, and Rebel Princess, thanks again for listening to another episode of Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. You can follow us on the socials, Big T, Little T podcast, Instagram, BLILT podcast, and Twitter. And then we're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Big T LILT on Twitch. So we'll be announcing our stream schedule. I don't know if we're going to have a schedule, but we're going to try to figure that out. We got stickers. We want to hear from you. Comment, rate, tweet us on Apple Podcasts. You can email us at bigtlittlepodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a question, give us a 5-star rating, and we will send you a sticker. We want to thank everyone again to getting us to 500 followers. We really appreciate that. And now we're on to the road to 1,000, of course. Next week, episode 34. Again, I don't know if we're going to do it every week or every 2 weeks, or we're going to try to get the podcast out as soon as we can, but we're going to go episode 34. Obviously we're going to do a little bit more Resistance. We're trying to finish up season 1 before we get back to Mando. So as always, truly wonderful the mind of a child is. We're gonna play that. I teased it up at the beginning, but we're gonna play that sick beat from my son Jordan Esparza. So I want you to check this out, and may the force be with you always. Bye.